I stood at my own front door, holding white lilies I'd picked up on the way home. Through the wood, I heard Tara's laughter, light and musical, the way it used to sound when we first met. Then a man's voice said, "He'll never find out." My hand froze on the doorknob. Tara whispered something I couldn't make out, but the tone was unmistakable. Intimate. Final. Something inside me cracked. I set the flowers down carefully on the doormat and walked back to my truck. I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, feeling everything collapse. When I finally drove away, I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't walk through that door. Not yet. Not while I could still pretend I hadn't heard what I'd heard. The lilies sat wilting in the Colorado evening air, forgotten. My name is Evan Marks. I'm 55 years old, and that night ended 17 years of marriage. I'm a structural engineer, the kind who spends his days calculating load-bearing capacities and stress points. I build things that last. Or at least, I thought I did. Tara had been different lately. New clothes that still had tags hidden in the closet. Perfume I didn't recognize. Business lunches that stretched into evenings. I noticed, but I blamed myself. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I'd become boring. Maybe I'd stopped making her feel special. So I tried harder, brought home flowers more often, planned weekend trips she always found reasons to cancel. I thought I was fixing things. I was just watching them fall apart in slow motion. That night, I checked into a motel near the airport and didn't sleep at all. 2 days later, I came home to silence. Her closet was empty. The bathroom counter where her makeup used to crowd, every surface was bare. On the kitchen table sat a single note written on the back of an old grocery receipt. "You deserve someone simple, Evan. I can't live small anymore." Our house key lay next to it. I picked up the key and turned it over in my hands. 17 years reduced to one sentence. I walked through each room, seeing the gaps where her things had been. The space on the bookshelf where her novels used to sit. The empty hook where her favorite jacket always hung. I sat down on our couch, and said out loud to no one, "You already lived small." The house didn't answer. It just echoed. I heard about him at a party I shouldn't have attended. Marcus, a friend from college, threw his annual barbecue, and I went because staying home felt worse. That's where the whispers started. "Did you hear about Tara?" someone said near the drinks table. "She's with Caleb Vaughn now. The investor guy. Really made an upgrade." I stood there holding a beer I didn't want, listening to people discuss my failed marriage like it was entertainment. Later, I looked him up. Caleb Vaughn. 38 years old, perfect teeth, expensive watch in every photo. His social media showed Tara on rooftops I couldn't afford, wearing dresses I'd never seen. The comments call them a power couple. I closed my phone and drove home. That night, I didn't cry. I just sat in the dark, feeling something cold settle where my heart used to be. Work became my shelter. I stayed late every night, double-checking calculations, reviewing blueprints until my eyes burned. The new bridge project consumed me, which was exactly what I needed. But the whispers followed me there, too. Heard Tara's doing well, someone mentioned casually in the break room. Guess she found what she was looking for. I smiled and nodded and said nothing. At night, alone in my apartment, the one I'd rented because I couldn't stay in that empty house, I scrolled through her posts. Champagne glasses, designer bags, hotel suites in cities I'd never visited. Then I noticed something. Caleb had tagged his company's location in one photo. I pulled up a map. The address was a strip mall with a payday loan store and a nail salon. No office building. No investment firm. I screenshot the image and filed it away. Just curious, I told myself. Nothing more. My engineering mind doesn't let things go easily. I ran a simple search through the Colorado Secretary of State Business Registry. Caleb Vaughn Investments returned 0 results. I tried variations. Vaughn Capital. Caleb Investments Group. Nothing registered. I checked Delaware, where many companies incorporate. Still nothing. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. Everyone has a digital footprint, especially someone flashing money like Caleb did. The absence of one was louder than any evidence. I created a folder on my laptop and labeled it Anomalies. Not revenge, I told myself. Just an engineer checking the structural integrity of something that didn't look sound. I added the screenshot, the failed business searches, and closed the laptop. But my mind kept working on it like a problem I couldn't solve. I ran into Tara at the coffee shop on Larimer Street. She looked radiant, gold necklace catching a morning light, designer purse worth more than my monthly rent. She saw me and smiled, that old smile that used to make me feel like the only person in the room. "Evan," she said warmly, "you look good." Tired, but good. We talked for a few minutes about nothing important. She mentioned Caleb twice, casual name drops to remind me of her new life. When the barista brought her order, her card declined. She laughed it off, tried another card. That one worked. I saw the flicker in her eyes, brief panic before the smile returned. "These chip readers are terrible," she said. I agreed and left. Outside, I made another note in my folder. "Small crack," I wrote. "Structural weakness detected." The folder grew slowly. I wasn't obsessing, just documenting when things didn't add up. Caleb's company address led to a virtual office space, the kind you rent by the hour. His business phone went to a generic voicemail. The luxury car in his photos belonged to a rental company based in Vegas. His office building in downtown Denver was actually a co-working space with day passes. I cross-referenced his claimed investments with public records. Nothing matched. Every company he said he funded either didn't exist or had no record of outside investors. I wasn't angry anymore. I was curious. This was a puzzle, and puzzles had solutions. I worked on it the way I design a bridge, checking every stress point, looking for where the weight didn't distribute properly. Somewhere, there was a breaking point. The dinner invitation surprised me. Tara called on a Thursday afternoon. "Let's meet," she said. "Talk like adults. Clear the air." I agreed because I wanted to see something for myself. She chose an expensive steakhouse I'd never been to. Caleb was already there when I arrived, sitting next to Tara like he owned the place. "Evan," he said, standing to shake my hand. His grip was firm, practiced. "Heard a lot about you. Tara says you're brilliant with numbers." We made small talk. Then Caleb pitched me. "I'm always looking for smart investors," he said. "Small buy-in, huge returns. I could get you in on the ground floor." I asked simple questions. Where was the fund registered? Who handled the compliance? Could I see the prospectus? His answers were vague, confident, but empty. I declined politely. "You'll regret that," Caleb said, not quite joking. I smiled and left. In my truck, I checked my phone. I'd been recording the whole conversation. The call came at 11 on a Tuesday night. "Marcus, turn on the news," he said. I grabbed the remote. Breaking news scrolled across the bottom. Federal agents raided downtown office in fraud investigation. The building shown was Caleb's co-working space. My phone started buzzing with texts. People who'd ignored me for months suddenly remembered I existed. I watched the coverage in silence. No arrests yet, but the reporters mentioned money laundering, wire fraud, victims across 3 states. Tara's social media went dark immediately. No more champagne photos. Just one cryptic post. "Loyalty matters more than gold." I poured myself a drink and opened my laptop. The folder labeled anomalies had grown to 47 documents. I attached them to an email addressed to Kyle Patterson, an investigative journalist whose work I'd followed. Subject line, "You might want to look into this." I hit send and went to bed. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror the next morning, really looking at myself for the first time in months. Gray hair at the temples. Lines around my eyes, but still standing. "You're still here," I said to my reflection. The face looking back wasn't broken anymore. Just tired. I'd spent months mourning a marriage that had died long before Tara walked out. Grieving a woman who decided I wasn't enough. But standing there, I realized something had shifted. I didn't miss her. I missed who I thought she was. There's a difference. I got dressed, made coffee, and decided something that should have been obvious all along. It was time to rebuild. Not the marriage. Not the past. Myself. The man I'd stopped being while trying to save something that didn't want saving. The phone call from my office changed everything. They wanted me to lead the new municipal bridge project, the biggest contract our firm had landed in years. "You've been here longer than anyone," my boss said. "Your designs are flawless. It's time you got the recognition you deserve." I accepted, feeling something I hadn't felt in forever. Pride. Not in what I had, but in what I'd built with my own hands. That night, I took myself out to dinner, nothing fancy, just a quiet place where I could sit and think. For the first time since Tara left, I smiled and meant it. Maybe lost was just redirection. Maybe the universe had cleared space for something better. I ordered dessert and didn't feel guilty about it. Tara's name appeared on my phone screen 3 weeks later. I almost didn't answer. "Evan," she said, her voice shaking. "I need help. Caleb's gone. The accounts are frozen. I just need advice. You're good with numbers." I held the phone away from my ear for a moment, processing this. The woman who'd left me for a richer man was calling because that man's money had vanished. "Where is he?" I asked. "I don't know. He said he had to leave town for business. That was 4 days ago." She was crying now. "I can't access anything. The credit cards don't work. The apartment lease was never in my name. I have nothing." I waited, letting the silence stretch. "Tara," I said finally, "you left me for a man who doesn't exist." She started to argue, but I hung up. I sat there holding the phone, waiting for guilt to hit. It never came. Just a strange, peaceful quiet. The news exploded overnight. Caleb Vaughn, real name Marcus Brennan, charged with federal wire fraud and money laundering. 14 counts. Victims across 5 states, mostly retirees and widows. His face filled every screen, that confident smile now looking predatory under the context. Tara's photo appeared next to his. "Socialite girlfriend claims she knew nothing," the headline read. I watched from my kitchen, drinking coffee, feeling nothing but a distant sympathy for the people he'd actually hurt. My phone buzzed constantly. Old friends wanting to know if I'd seen it. My lawyer asking if I needed anything. I replied to none of them. This wasn't my victory. It was just the truth finally catching up to lies. I closed my laptop and went for a walk. The morning air tasted clean. The email came at 2 in the morning. I woke to my phone's glow and saw Tara's name. The message was long, rambling, switching between apology and desperation. She admitted she'd ignored warning signs because she wanted to feel alive. Because my life felt too small, too predictable. She said Caleb had shown her excitement, passion, a world beyond bridge calculations and quiet dinners. She said she was sorry. She said she made a terrible mistake. I read it twice, then started typing a response. I wrote 3 paragraphs about hurt and betrayal and wasted years. Then I deleted all of it and typed 4 words. "I hope you find peace." I hit send before I could reconsider. There was nothing else to say. She'd made her choice. I'd made mine by refusing to chase someone who didn't want to be caught. Kyle Patterson's article hit the Denver Post a week later. How a federal fraud case was cracked by anonymous evidence. Read the headline. The piece detailed Caleb's scheme, the shell companies, the fake investments, the offshore accounts. Buried in the middle was one line. Investigators credit an anonymous insider for providing documentation that exposed the scope of the fraud. I read it sitting at my desk during lunch. Nobody knew the insider was me. Nobody needed to. I never wanted credit or recognition or revenge. Just truth. I closed the browser and returned to my bridge design. The calculations were complex, requiring precision and patience, kind of like everything else worth building. I finished the section and submitted it ahead of schedule. My boss sent a congratulatory email. I filed it away and started the next phase. The old house sold faster than I expected. The realtor called on a Friday afternoon. "Cash offer, full asking price," she said. "They want to close next week." I agreed and drove over one last time before signing the papers. The rooms echoed empty, stripped of furniture and memories. I found one of Tara's scarves wedged behind the bedroom door, red silk she'd worn to our anniversary dinner years ago. I folded it carefully, placed it in a box with a house key, and left both on the front porch. Let her collect it or not. Either way, it wasn't mine to carry anymore. I locked the door and walked to my truck. "Goodbye, Tara," I said to the house. The words felt final, complete. I drove away and didn't look back once. The cabin cost less than I expected. 40 minutes outside Denver, tucked between pine trees with a view of distant mountains. It needed work, new roof, updated plumbing, but I liked that. Gave me something to build. I spent weekends replacing boards and fixing windows. Started woodworking in the small garage, making simple furniture by hand. The neighbor, Lydia, a retired teacher with gray hair and kind eyes, brought me coffee one morning. "Saw you working," she said. "Thought you could use this." We talked about nothing important. She didn't ask about my past. I didn't offer it. Just easy conversation between two people who'd learned that silence could be comfortable. Then the envelope arrived. Official letterhead. Department of Justice. Summons for deposition regarding United States versus Marcus Brennan. My testimony could put the final nail in Caleb's coffin. The trial became national news. Federal prosecutors laid out Caleb's empire of lies, the fake companies, the forged documents, the retirement accounts drained from people who trusted him. Tara's name appeared repeatedly in the documents. Joint bank accounts, co-signed leases, credit cards in her name tied to the fraudulent businesses. The prosecution argued she'd either known or should have known. Her lawyer claimed ignorance. I watched from home, following updates online. My evidence, already submitted anonymously months ago, kept my name out of it. I documented everything carefully, dated every file, maintained a clear chain of custody. The prosecutors thanked the anonymous source publicly. I changed the channel and went back to sanding a chair I was building. The wood grain was beautiful, honest. You could see exactly what it was. She showed up on a Sunday afternoon in November. I heard the car before I saw it, engine struggling up the gravel road. Tara stepped out looking nothing like the woman from those social media photos. Older, thinner, tired in a way that went deeper than lack of sleep. "Evan," she said, "please, just 5 minutes." I put down my tools and waited. "You're the only one who can help me," she said. "The prosecutors think I was involved. I need someone to testify that I wouldn't do this, that I'm not that person." I studied her face, looking for the woman I'd married. She was still in there somewhere, buried under regret and desperation. "I warned you once," I said quietly. "At that dinner. I asked questions you ignored because you didn't want answers. I won't warn you again." She started crying. "Please." I stepped back and closed the cabin door gently. Through the window, I watched her stand there for a long moment before walking back to her car. Snow started falling as her taillights disappeared down the road. The consulting work started by accident. A younger engineer at my firm asked for advice about a contract dispute. I walked him through it, showed him how to document everything, how to protect himself legally while maintaining integrity. Word spread. Soon, I had junior engineers stopping by my office regularly. My boss noticed and suggested I formalize it. Mentorship program, he called it. Teach them what you know. I started running monthly sessions on ethics in engineering, financial literacy, contract law, the practical stuff they don't teach in school. The kids called me the professor at first, then just Marks. One of them told me later I'd saved him from a scam contractor. "You taught me to ask questions," he said, "to verify everything." I realized then that Tara's betrayal had taught me something worth passing on. Trust, but verify. Hope, but protect yourself. Love, but never at the cost of your own integrity. The news alert came while I was teaching a Saturday session. Marcus Brennan, formerly known as Caleb Vaughn, sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Asset forfeiture of $4.2 million. Victims restitution fund established. I glanced at my phone, then continued the lecture. After class, I checked the full report. Tara had been found complicit in minor charges, knowing receipt of stolen property. She'd lost everything, her seized assets, frozen accounts, even her car repossessed. The article mentioned she'd moved to a rental somewhere in Aurora, working retail to pay her legal fees. There was a photo of her leaving the courthouse, head down, trying to hide from cameras. I stared at it for a moment, feeling something I didn't expect. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Just a quiet acknowledgement that consequences existed for everyone. I closed the article. One last email sat in my spam folder, sent 3 days ago. Subject line, "You were right about everything." I didn't open it. Some conversations were already finished. The magazine article surprised me. Engineering excellence, structures that endure featured our bridge project as a case study in resilience design. My name appeared throughout, along with photos of the construction progress. Mark's designs account for stress points most engineers overlook, the article read. His structures don't just stand. They adapt. A colleague brought it into the office Monday morning. "You're famous," she joked. I wasn't famous. I was just finally being recognized for work I've been doing quietly for 30 years. That night, I got a text from Marcus. "Saw the article. Proud of you, man. Drinks this weekend." I agreed. Life was settling into something new. Not better or worse than before. Just different. More honest. I'd stopped trying to hold together things that wanted to fall apart. Started building things designed to last instead. Lydia invited me to dinner on a Thursday evening. "Just a few friends," she said. "Nothing fancy." I almost declined, old habit, but forced myself to accept. The dinner was warm, easy, filled with laughter from people who didn't know my history and didn't need to. Lydia introduced me as my neighbor who builds beautiful things. We ate pasta and drank wine and told stories that had nothing to do with betrayal or fraud or broken marriages. At one point, I realized I was smiling. Not the forced smile I'd worn for months after Tara left. A real one. The kind that came from actually feeling okay. After dinner, we sat on Lydia's porch watching stars appear over the mountains. "You seem different than when you moved here," she said. "More settled." I thought about that. "Maybe I finally stopped running from something," I said. "Started running towards something instead." She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. 6 months later, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail. "Mr. Marks? This is Helen Torres from the Community Recovery Foundation. We're contacting you because you're listed as the primary donor to our victims restitution program." I'd forgotten about that. The settlement from selling the house, combined with bonuses from the bridge project, had left me with more money than I needed. I'd quietly established a fund to help rebuild the lives Caleb's fraud had destroyed. Not for recognition. Just because I could. "We wanted to thank you personally," she continued. "Your contribution has helped 17 families recover their retirement savings. You've changed lives, Mr. Marks." I thanked her and hung up. Through my cabin window, I could see mountains turning purple in the evening light. Tara had left to chase gold. She'd found fool's gold instead. I found something far rarer than either. Peace with myself. Purpose in my work. A life built on truth instead of performance. She was somewhere out there, probably still struggling with consequences. I hope she found peace too someday. But that wasn't my concern anymore. I had a chair to finish and dinner with Lydia tomorrow. My own life to build. And this time, I was designing it to last.